Welcome RPA champions. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to automate your entire coding process. From this video on, you will not have to write a single line of code, and AI is going to do an amazing job and really fast. Allow us to ship and create applications just like the one that I'm going to show you right now. This app right here was created in just a couple of hours with AI. Back end, an amazing looking front end, thousands of lines of code generated entirely with AI in a few hours. Otherwise, it would have taken months and months to complete. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. We are about to go for a ride. I will show you the entire automation process for coding and becoming a coding engineer without any knowledge in coding. This is for experienced developers. This is for somebody that doesn't know development. This is for anybody that wants to use coding to create an application. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't subscribe to the channel, because if this kind of content becomes more and more viral, then what are we going to do in front of the computer? AI is going to do everything for us. Anyways, let's jump into it and let's see how to build this amazing automation. First of all, I'm going to show you a couple of tools where you can pay a license. For example, GitHub Pilot, where you can pay a license and have AI functionalities inside of your code. Now, each one of these tools comes with some kind of limitations. So for example, Copilot doesn't generate or create maybe the best code, has some issues where generating or creating new functionalities. We also have Replit. This is also great software. It is a paid software. There is a free version, but this also allows you to autocomplete and also to generate code outside of the page where you are, or to insert code directly inside of your code, having context with all of your library or all of your code repository. So it costs $15. Then we also have Cursor. This is the most used right now by developers. It costs around $20. Yes, it costs $20. And what I'm going to show you how to do today is how to set up Visual Studio to work just like Cursor, if not even better, with unlimited premium requests per month, not just 500. So these are a couple of tools that are paid tools that you can use also and accelerate your development. However, we are going to start from scratch. We're going to be using Visual Studio and add different extensions to Visual Studio to make Visual Studio just like Cursor. Visual Studio is a open source. Let's check it out. What we are going to do is we are going to use Visual Studio and set up Visual Studio just like Cursor to have all of the great functionalities that we want. What is it that we want? We want autocomplete inside of our code. So when we want to once in a while write some code, we're going to have the ability to autocomplete. But what is the key feature here that I'm going to show you is we want to talk with AI and have it generate the different files, go over the current files and edit them. So if you don't have this tool already, it is entirely for free. It is open source and you can download it for free and use it entirely for free. So set that up, and in the meanwhile, while we are setting this up, we are also going to start from scratch. I will show you also how you can use ChatGPT in combination with Claude to kick things off and start creating your code. So we're going to start from scratch, basically from nothing, just from an idea. I have a image actually that I wanna from which there is some instructions from a friend of mine that wants to create a application. So we're going to build this application. I'm going to upload this image into ChatGPT and tell it to get me the text of this image. So once we get the text of the image, I will explain to you what the application is going to be about. All right, now that we have extracted the text, this is what the application has to do. It has to identify a concept for validation. So for a business project, a startup or an idea, it has to create an MVP and do some market testing, and has to create a business strategy and a go-to-market plan and automate the entire process. So basically it is like creating an idea and using automation to build the idea, deploy it, and just have a business with one click. We're going to focus on just the first part of this and build an MVP for him for this first part. We are going to change model right now. ChatGPT 4 has access to uploading files, but right now we want something smarter. What we are going to do is we are going to copy this this information, and we are going to start a new chat. We are going to go into the ChatGPT 01 preview, which is a much smarter model, and we are going to give it some instructions. So I have entered a basic prompt. So remember, when you are writing prompts, make sure that you put in context and you also describe how you want your output. So right now I'm going to paste what we have obtained from the other page, and I'm going to have it elaborate some ideas. Now, I don't want to give it too much instructions in a single prompt, not to overload it with different tasks. So that's why I'm going to conversate with a little bit, try to create a detailed plan that I can then feed off to Claude to have it start building the application. Now, I want it to use the advanced reasoning features of ChatGPT 01 preview to create the page structure, the database structure, and all of the other things that I need before I start coding. So as we can see here, it is starting to come up with a plan, a high-level database structure. Now I'm going to go through this and see what I need for the MVP and for the first part, and just tell it to focus on that and give it much more example and detail on that, so that we can provide an as detailed plan as possible to Claude. All right. Now, after a couple of minutes of back and forward and trying to refine this plan, I think I have something finally that I can give to Claude, and it is going to give it a lot of context and help me build this application in a very clear way. ChatGPT 01 preview has better reasoning capabilities than Claude or than any other model. So I asked it to create me the content for each different page, to be as detailed as possible, to create me a database structure, to create me URL patterns, anything that I might need to start off a new application or a new project. We are going to copy all of this. Let's take all of this until the conclusion, copy it and go to Claude. Now, if you don't know Claude, Claude is a great model or a great LLM model that is specialized in coding, or it is really good in coding especially, and creative writing. I gave it this prompt: you're going to be a Django developer and help me build from scratch a new app. You will guide me step by step. Here is the context of the app. I can be much more detailed with this prompt. Also, I can build the application in any technology I want. I chose Django because Django is a back-end technology, but it also has some great front-end capabilities, such as the application that I showed you previously, which was built in with the same technology. Therefore, we are going to be using Django. It is also in Python, many APIs that we are going to be using. Also, if we want to use AI like Claude, or if we want to use OpenAI APIs, it is easier to set them up in Python than with other technologies. However, for AI, it doesn't really matter. So let's give it the context that we got from our model, and you can see that Claude has a capability of taking the thing that you paste and saving it into a container. And after that, it is very similar to the capabilities from ChatGPT of the Canva. However, Canva capabilities have a couple of more things. I made a video about that if you're interested. So we see that it is starting to build some applications. So let's see, I'll help you build. So initial settings. So what is this? So we need to create a virtual environment, do all of this kind of things, and start. So it's giving us a roadmap. However, we also need somewhere to put all of this code. So if you have done so already, you might have set up Microsoft Visual Studio. So let's open it up, and let's open a new folder where we're going to be creating our app. So I'm going to create a new folder in here and call it Discovery. That is what this app is going to be. It is going to be a discovery for great ideas to create and put into production. So I create this folder. We're going to go into this folder, and my page is going to be completely empty. Now, I promised you before that we are going to set up Visual Studio to be just like Cursor and have AI capabilities inside of it. Now, there are two extensions that you absolutely must need. Extensions are things that are going to enhance the functionalities of Visual Studio. To get extensions, you need to click on the extensions tab here. If you don't see it, right click here, and here are all of the different extensions. Maybe it is just unchecked and you can't see it. In the extensions, we're going to look for two plugins. One is going to be called Claude Dev, or right now it's called Klein. And what is this going to allow us to do? It is going to allow us to create code inside of our different files. It is going to go line by line and is going to create the code inside of our project, just starting from scratch. So install this. If you haven't done so, I will show you how to configure it. So here we are in the configuration pane. All you need to do is you can select a model that you want to use. You can also use open source models that you download on your computer. So this process will be entirely for free. I'm going to be using the Anthropic API because right now Claude Sonnet 3.5 is by far the best coding engineer and can understand really great amount of context. However, if your code is huge and you need large context for your prompts, you can use Google Gemini and it is going to be able to analyze a lot more inside of it. So I'm going to be selecting Anthropic and putting my API key, selecting the model that I want to use. The best model is 3.5 Sonnet and some upgrades are coming in a really short time. So here we can see that the max output for the tokens is this much, the input price and some metrics. For each model, for each provider, these metrics are different. We can also add some custom instructions inside of here, so we can tell it you're going to be a specialized Django developer, etc., so that it takes on a custom role. So after you have set this up, you can click on done and you're going to have access to the Claude engineer in here. So I'm going to say hey, and just to test that it works. So it is working and it's telling me how much my message has costed. And right now we are going to do something else. We're going to ask it to create that application, start creating this application for us in here. However, before we do any of that, we need one more extension. And that extension is going to allow us to do autocomplete inside of our code. So we are going to search for Continue Coastal Claude. This is also an open source application and we're going to install it. Once installed, we're going to see its icon right here. And to use it, it's also extremely simple. We just have to configure it. I have already configured it. So to configure it, you would go to add a chat model and provide different API keys for whatever model you want. This also supports Olama so that you can download models by yourself, whatever open source model that you want, and use it open source for free from your computer. It might be slower, but at least it is going to be for free. So these are the two extensions that we need, and now we are going to start the automation process. There are two ways that I can start. One of the ways is that I can go through all of this and start following the commands. So I can create a virtual environment. So we're going to first create a virtual environment inside of our directory in here. So terminal, we are going to create a new terminal. Why do we need a virtual environment? We need a virtual environment because we are going to be installing some libraries and scripts and stuff like that. So we want to install all of that stuff inside of a virtual environment. And it is guiding us step by step. We can also, if this is not clear for you what it has to do, you can just ask it to break it down into smaller details or into more step-by-step guide. So we have set up this first step. So this is the second step that we have to do. We have to access the virtual environment. So now that we are in the virtual environment, we need to install all of these libraries. Let's install all of these libraries. First, we have to install Django. Django is going to be the backend or a framework that is going to allow us to have functions and just build code much faster, because we're going to use its functions, its structure, its capabilities to build some complex things that otherwise we'll have to build from scratch. So we can see that it's installing all of the different packages that we need right now. And in the meantime, I can go back here and see what next thing that we need. So this is going to create a Django project. That's great. So let's copy this. And let's give, this is the last command, so it didn't execute. Now, if Django was installed properly, which it is, now we can use this Django command to create a new project. Once we create the project, we see that it has some files inside of it. We don't really have to bother with any of this because why? AI and code assistants are going to do everything for us. So I done the next command, I cd'd into the next folder. So after that, we are going to add this start core app. So this is going to create a app inside of our project, a Django app that we're going to be using. And after that, startup accounts. All right. And after that, we are going to click on the next file. So what does the next file say? We have to go to the investment platform inside of the settings and just copy all of this and paste it in there. So investment platform settings PY. So if we go in here, so this is some initial configuration that we have to do in the beginning. So in here, we are just going to copy and paste this code that was generated for us. So let's save this and go back to the next steps. So what does it say? First, we have to create an environment file as well. So now that we have done this, we have to create an environment file. Let's go back into our app, and this has to be inside of at this level right here. So we're going to create an environment file. Environment file is going to be used to store some API keys. So something like this, for example. This is just an example. Let's paste it in. All right, and then create an env file, create a database, blah 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 blah. Let me show you a much faster way. So I'm going to do this and copy all of these instructions that I have added in here, and I'm going to add them inside of client right here. So we are going to tell it like this: start creating my app, and let's see what happens. So this is going to give all of the context of my application. So the first thing that it wants to do right now, it wants to read the settings PY. So I'm going to approve for it to read the settings PY. So it is reading it. Now it's going to read the environment. And as you can see, it has started writing some variables or changing files. Now I'm going to click on accept, and what is it doing right now? It is asking me if it can create a directory inside of my project. So let's allow it to create a directory. So it opened a new terminal. It did not create the account, but it doesn't matter because it is going to continue doing other things. So it went into the models, it created something new inside of the models. Now it is continuing, it is going to the apps, it is going to the admin page, it is creating different files. That is fantastic. So I'm just going to let it has already the ideas directory already exists, so there was no need to create it. It is going about on creating the models for the ideas directory. Now this is amazing. It is already writing hundreds of lines of code without me actually doing pretty much anything. We're just going to test the application once the entire process is complete. It is opening all the different files that are created and inserting the information according to the instructions that I have inserted previously. Now, I would recommend that you start from a base template, meaning that you have some application already built. So you follow the first steps on Claude, you did it manually, you saw how the things were done, you learned a little bit how to manage it, and then using this technology to create hundreds and hundreds of lines of code just out of scratch continuously and so forth. So this is right now creating a very complex database structure, because we are going to be creating different apps and we have models also in different apps and so forth. Now, I could have chosen to simplify it, but since I don't have to do much except just sit around and watch it build code for me, in the top part we can also see the costs and the tokens. So far, to create this application, it has cost us 20 cents. It has also saved countless hours of development. So right now we can see that is starting to create the home, the base template. We are almost ready to test out our application and see what we have created. This has been democratized completely, meaning that I don't have to be a developer. I don't need to know how to code to generate code like this. I just need to know how to write. Right now, the technology is still a little bit limited to some people, meaning that you need to install Visual Studio, you need to get an API key. It is a little bit complicated for some people. However, So I think we're going to have to do this by ourselves. So let's do this command. So this command is Python make migrations. We're going to go into the other terminal in here, and we're going to create the database. So we're going to add it. We're going to tell it that this issue is coming up when I run that command. Great. Let's see if it's going to understand, because we reference signals in our apps py, but we haven't created the signals py files yet. Let's create the signals. All right, it has created the signals for each one of the different apps that we have: the core, the accounts, the idea, the evaluations. Now, also keep in mind that I have absolutely no idea what is going on, and it is going to be a surprise for me. Again, we can tell it this. Now we are getting this issue. Run the command. I ran the wrong command. All right, so it actually did figure it out. So now it is going to fix those things, and let's see what happens next. So it's going to build also the URLs of all of the different applications. Now this is truly amazing. And as I was saying before we got diverted, if this becomes democratized to everybody and everybody can build applications and use the computer just like this, developers obviously cease to exist or become like chimney sweepers, meaning a tradition or a job that is for the books of history. I'm sure that yes, there's always going to be developers and code accessing the computer, but really if AI can do pretty much the same things, if you haven't seen my latest videos also about Claude Engineer, how it uses your computer, I do advise it to check it out. It is basically Claude that takes your computer and uses your computer to do different tasks. All right, it worked. It created a bunch of different tables. It's great. We're going to, okay, I did it manually. What's next? So let's see what's next. We're almost ready. So I think the next thing would be to make migrations and to migrate or to build our database. So let's see what happens. Let's save this. Because we're using SQL, so I'm going to tell it to use an internal database like an SQLite or something that doesn't require a server. So yeah, it continues generating and generating code. It is great. We should be almost complete with this idea. Let's take a look at the structure of all the different pages that we have created. These are all the different apps that we have inside of this idea. And then we have pages. So we have a dashboard page, we have a home page, evaluation form, and a base page. Let's go back to our client. Let's save this and let's have it continue generating our ideas. Now, if I used an internal model, this work would have been completely free. However, no open source models right now can perform tasks this well. They can be used for small files or for small documents, but to have them generate files with so little errors and with such great efficiency and quality of the code, Claude Engineer is by far the best. Therefore, if you are going to save some time and you really want to save time, then just use Claude Engineer for now, because otherwise using the other models is just going to be time consuming and frustrating because the code is not going to be the best. So this is again generating and generating more and more code. I think we are about to finish with all of the generation. So it's creating also a readme file that we can go through and see what it has created. So I also want to use a DB that is not on a server like SQLite. And let's see what changes it makes, and then I think we should be pretty much ready to run our applications and see what happens. Let's go through the README file. So here described investment platform, a robust web application for investment firms to effectively identify, evaluate, and manage promising business ideas. User management, so we should have this, idea submission, evaluation system, collaboration tools. So we have to clone the, all right, so we start this, install the dependencies, we've already installed this, set up this, we've already done that, create super user and run server. So we should Python migrate. Let's accept this. It is also intelligent enough to update the README file. I could also reject if I wanted to. So let's try one more time our application and see what happens. So Python migrate. It seems to be working. Let's create a super user. Create Python, create super user. Username admin and password. Obviously, we're gonna call the password admin again. Yes, I know it is not good practice, but we're gonna do it anyway. All right, we've done that, and now let's run this last command and see if our application works and what issues, and if it works straight out of the box, just like this, without any issues. So Python manage run server. All right, so seems to be running. Let's see. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen. So, all right, at least a page. Let's see, get started. So, all right, on get started, we have this. Now, let's copy this and let's go back in here. So the error occurs because you're using Django built-in authentication views but hasn't created the login template. We need to create a registration template for the login. All right, so it didn't create a login page, so now it's going to create a login page for us. It's going to create a password reset form, reset done form. It is taking things way further than it is completing the entire process, or it is just doing pretty much everything that we would need. And what I saw previously looked pretty decent. We're gonna go on and just fine-tune and fix all of the different issues. So let's go back to to here. Let's refresh, and we have a new error. So we're not using crispy, but soon all of these errors are going to be resolved. So we reinserted the error. So the error because you're using a crispy form but hasn't been installed in the required package. So I have to install this. All right, fair enough. I can install this. Let's go stop our server with Control-C, paste this command inside of the virtual environment, and try our server again. Go back here, refresh the page, take this command. I ran the command manually, but still get this. So this is working just like ChatGPT or Claude outside, but it is actually inside of your code doing the editing for you. Okay, so it has inserted some things inside of the templates file or inside of the settings file for us to use this crispy form functionality. Now it hasn't even been like half an hour, and we are almost by tomorrow probably, if I wanted to stay here a few more hours and continue working on this application. And what do I mean by working? Using my brain to understand what it has done, if it's good enough or not, and then not know how to write any code or anything, and just click on mainly the save button and add instructions here. Sounds limiting and sounds like we are going to be replaced pretty fast if this is the tendency. So it has completed everything. So let's see if it is going to work this time. We open the web server. Let's go back to the page. Let's refresh it. All right, learn more. Nothing. Get started. We have add class, and pretty much the only thing that I'm doing right now, I'm feeding it in the errors that we are getting from the code that it generates, and it's trying to resolve those errors, while we don't really think about the error much or what a possible solution could be. So all of this, it is pretty amazing, pretty limiting, pretty maybe scary, maybe it is a great opportunity. I don't know how you want to consider it. So here we go. It finally works. Let's go to the register page. The register page seems to work as well. So I'm going to write admin. No, let's do another username. So let's call it Greg. Email Greg. Entrepreneur, and password. We are going to select a password that I know is going to work. And let's confirm the password. What do I mean that I know that it's going to work? I mean that it's going to satisfy this criteria. Let's sign up. Oh, and user registration seems to be working. So let's see, submit a new idea, if that works. So that doesn't work right now. We have a dashboard, submit a new idea, and now let's go create the page and functionality to submit a new idea. It has created all of the backend infrastructure with already the login functionality that is working. The logout, let's see if it's going to work. If I go back here, the logout doesn't work yet, but I think you've got the idea of what to do in case this doesn't work. Now, subscribe to the channel. Don't be stingy with those subscribes. They make me really happy seeing that the community enjoys what I'm doing. So if you have truly enjoyed this video, subscribe, leave a comment, engage with me. I do want to talk with you, and I do want to hear about your ideas and your challenges that you're having in automation to automate them together. Join the Discord channel. I just want to build a community and share what I'm doing with everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next automation.